movement, and thought. The basic responses of I and I. Metamorphosis.
Keep listening.
In life I shall be the same. In death I shall be a terror.
Iman Blak, me no brown, me no white. Nazi Babylon stripe, you mad?
Guiding I eternally. Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I.
Emerging from a cocoon into a caterpillar, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. The metamorphosis is here, it's live. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change their style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts, change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
Metamorphosis, Black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria, gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt.
Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I.
Good evening, Iman Blak.
Good evening.
This is Pauline from St. Mary. Calling to big you up on your program. I am a disciple. I've been there since almost the inception.
Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free.
I just you may have to tune into because, me always even watch some other television and stuff and that I have to see for later. I have to really listen to you first, you know what I mean?
How ma one one chikumbakhna Africa da fabakhna kidafanya kidafarafet one machiki bunjul kidafarunjul one yandeke sawai kidafarunjul one machiki bunjul kidafarunjul dafnen rafet yomenta menda ingama dafnen rafet yomenta menda ingara dafnen rafet yomenta menda ingara. Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud.
Metamorphosis. Coming to you from Styles FM. This is Dr. Iman Blak. I'm your host. At a time when we have to maximize our energies in the right direction. At a time when there needs to be a recap and a review of the journey of the African people, at least over the last 50 years. It's a time to explore the dream articulated by Martin Luther King, the dream that the black population fell within. Are we now experiencing the nightmare? Metamorphosis.
We're not change, you know.
Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis.
Sit upon his throne now. Rastafari, sit upon his throne, yeah. Telling us to come home, yeah.
Coming to you live from Stars FM.
Telling us to come home. Fire operates, burn down Babylon and all them crooked ways and racial discrimination, discommunication, brutalization. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Rastafari, sit upon his throne now. Rastafari, sit upon his throne, yeah. Rastafari, sit upon his throne now, telling us to come home.
Reality Radio.
Shall not enter. These are all alone. We walk on a true monster, sipping from the cup of peace. Chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation.
Tenastilin, Eli, greetings. Metamorphosis, live. And the vibe is one. One vibe. They say that we live in the universe. Universe. One verse. Uni, one. Verse, a line, a thought, a song. The universe is a song composed of infinite vibrations, echoing cosmic consciousness, the foundation of psychic intelligence. One vibe, the universe. Hailing all ones and ones listening to Stars FM. Hail ones and ones locked into the Metamorphosis, where we engage our own selves into a process of transformation, fearless of what appears to be the unknown. But the mind has all experiences, all events, so there is no fear of the inevitable. It's the first time I'm forced to speak directly to a set of events that are happening, and I must for the first time now make my report. And the report that I'm going to make is basically going to cover the next 3 or 4 programs. It's a series of reasonings. And the basic theme behind these reasonings, we could say the phrase that we will use is that we are going to be examining from Ronald to Donald. And we'll be examining the state of affairs of black people, particularly in America, since the dream of Martin Luther King. Is it that black people in America are now awakening from the dream? And is it that the reality is becoming a nightmare? So I will be spending a couple of programs examining particularly the last 50 years of the black people's experience on this planet Earth. From around 1967, when Martin Luther King uttered his dream that captured the imagination of so many people. Have I and I been living in that dream? And is it that the awakening that is taking place is so rude and so abrupt that we have to be searching around the planet for what is it that we can point our finger to know as a cause? Because over these last 50 years, as a black man treading the earth, I might have seen the total rise and fall of a culture. And we're talking about within the 50 years. And so what is it we need to know is it that the black people are in reverse? Is it that the black people are in a collective reverse based upon what were considered to be achievements in the 60s and in the 70s? And what has been the triggers that has brought this reverse? And everything now centralizes itself in the reasoning around the present leadership of the world in terms of the governance of the United States. Because the United States and the Soviet Union were the world powers right after World War II, coming right through the 40s, 50s, into the 60s. So we have a situation where we would call that to be an established order, the way the world was running from World War II to the present, an established order. And the order was established by the dominant European forces. Now, in today's world, for the first time, I must turn my focus on an individual who has come to the world stage and has been very different in his approach to leadership. And in that difference, the world is in a total topsy-turvy. So I'm speaking now almost 1 year on since the election of Donald J. Trump. And for the first time, out of all of his events and activities and investigations and character assassinations and the various things that have been so distracting, this is the first time now that Trump has made a decision that has fully drawn my attention. Totally have me now focused on what is the nature now of this governance that is coming out of Washington. And the decision that the Trump has articulated is a decision to move the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Now, he has done a lot of things and said a lot of things before. But this move is, from my perspective, the most provocative of all of Donald Trump's actions. As much as the world is in an edge watching Kim Jong-un and those forces that are gathering in the Korean theater, the real issue, as far as I'm concerned now, is not any potential nuclear war, but what are the implications of Trump's decision to not only move the American embassy, but to actually declare a next man's country what his capital is. Now, the implications of this move is so serious that it forced Iman to look really now at the nature of the world and where is it as a collective, as a people. Where are we really going, or are we just being led? Because the program will just speak to those years, in particular, this program. Because I said to the item, no, that series of programs are going to address what I'm going to call the Trumpian era. Because this is a new era. I never wanted to look at it that way from day one. But the brethren has made himself so innocuous that it forced I and I to pay attention. He's a man who's seeking attention every move, and it's the first time now him grab my attention. And I purposely been sort of ignoring the behavior of Donald Trump. But it forced I now to really look at who is this character. What does he represent in terms of the world order? And how do African people respond to this realignment being engineered by the President of the United States? We have to look at it within the context of the American presidency, moving from Ronald to Donald. From Ronald Reagan, a Hollywood cowboy, to Donald Trump, a billionaire playboy. So we have to examine the institutions that really rule America, and not just America, that rule plantation societies in this Western world. And we're going to examine the most critical institution of enslavement in America. Entertainment is called Hollywood. And out of Hollywood, we have seen presidents rise up and to hit the White House. So we have to look within the context of what does it mean when the White House is controlled by Hollywood. We have also reflect on the status of black people before emancipation and in the post-emancipation period. And what really happened to I and I from 1967 when the dream was articulated to the present. What has happened in that dream? Is it that we were really put into a dream, a slumber, and other things contributed to our decline? And I'm saying, are we not in a reverse? When we look at the 70s at a glance and the level of consciousness and Pan-African thinking, and global reasoning and black consciousness, where is that today? Would you say that there has been a reversal? Would you say that moving from Afro to bleach is a reversal? So we have to examine closer. What is it that has been the trigger to this movement of black people from a high point of self-consciousness in the 70s to a point of unconsciousness in 2017? I want to look at Donald Trump and what this decision by the United States to actually move the embassy. And within a day after the declaration, the violence started amongst Palestinians and Israelis. It forces I and I now to ask the question, who are these Israelis? What is this Israel? Who is Israel? And how is it that African people, black people, calling themselves Israelites? What is the conflict in the ideology? So it's things that Donald Trump are now forcing I and I to look at closely. And I will just make a few comments as to what are some of the significant things I think this brethren has brought to the globe to date. Because, as I'm saying, after the World War II, the world was set up under a world order governed by America and Russia. Two superpowers. And so there was a way in which the world was operated. There was an East versus West. And yeah, either on the East or on the West, and the East and the West would always be in confrontation. And so there was a general way that the world was governed. With the appearance of Donald Trump, that way is being altered in a very radical way. One of the things that Trump brings to consciousness, even before he became the president, was the idea of the elections being rigged. Now, this was unheard of because America represents the greatest democracy and the symbol of democracy. And here you have a candidate insisting that the process is rigged. So this was one of the first time this Virginia saying something that was going against the grain. It wasn't within the context of being a Democrat or being a Republican. It was saying something totally outside of the game. The next thing that Trump put on the table was the concept of fake news. Now, and I, prior to Trump's arrival, never really concerned ourselves with the idea of fake news. All of us are basically on the illusion that news is news and there is honesty and there is truth. And this brethren here now come and say, look, all that you read don't go so, you know. Enough of the news is fake. So, right away from them time, you know, this brethren here start challenge what you call the establishment. And this establishment is the same establishment that have black people now under submission, you know. Let us not forget that now it's the same establishment. But now it's being challenged by one of the wealthy ones. Now, as I said, this is going to be an extended reasoning beyond this program. But I'm just kind of giving you a framework as to some of the issues that I and I will have to engage ourselves with. So we get the concept of fake news. I'm getting the concept of rigged polls in the American democracy, beginning to shake the fibers of what the establishment want I and I to hold on to. The belief that democracy is a government of the people, for the people, by the people, and all you have to do is just vote, and your will be expressed. All of this kind of rhetoric. Now, besides those things now, Trump campaign was based upon energizing nationalism amongst white people, awakening clan vibrations. In today's 2017, there is now a movement called It's Okay to be White. And you have to understand now, what does it mean to be white? And what does Trump mean when he says he's going to make America great again? So all of these things are going to be connected. And so black people know to connect the dots, I and I self, and begin to see the picture, without waiting on these news media to tell us how to think. So Trump begins to throw doubt on the whole concept of media gathering and news information to show you that lies are being told. He also begin to suggest to you that the democracy thing that we think is growing fair, everything is not so fair, because enough rigging going on in the voting. Now, when you see colonies that are trying to develop themselves into democracies, and these things are occurring, it's a sort of contradiction. Because you have a feeling that the democracy in America is pure, and it is pure, and it is white. Here comes the Trump. Now, Trump deals with issues of race first. And within the context of race first, I'm talking about white Anglo-Saxon Protestants first. But we know that. So it has nothing to do with immigrants and people who are foreigners. Trump outlines an agenda. And what we see manifested now in his presidency is the Trump agenda. And much of this agenda counteracts what the Americans would call foreign policy. So there's a very big confrontation going on with the world now and America, led by the Trump. Now the Trump has come to office. And as I said earlier, he has done a lot of things and said a lot of things. He has started a sort of campaign to the extent now that Hollywood has been drawn into it, and that the women are now rebelling, and there's a movement of unified women now against sexual harassment. But all of this is motivated by the chief sexual harassment officer, which is the Trump. So the brethren here now is inspiring all sort of mobilization of people and groups. Of course, our interest now is in the mobilization of the black people. Is I and I mobilizing ourselves within this Trumpian era? Or I and I just watching it and waiting to see what will happen? Now, ultimately, the women in America are in an uproar now. Government ministers now in America, senators now are resigning. And there's a serious war against Trumpian behavior that has accepted groping and front grabbing and those things as normal. So there's a resistance. And it's, at the same time, there's a unification taking place. Because the women are organizing and they're coming together. We also will realize that what happened to Bill Cosby was just the tip of the iceberg. And when they chased Bill Cosby out of the media, later on we realized that the whole Hollywood is run by sexual predators. And that these predators are also at Capitol Hill. And they go beyond and across the Atlantic Ocean into the United Kingdom and in the British Parliament, where even those men now are being ferreted out. So there's a lot of upheavals taking place globally, and I must pay attention carefully. The critical thing too is that he has begun to isolate America. He has begun to isolate America. And in that isolation now, the world is undergoing a reordering. The isolation can be demonstrated by his actions since him reaching to the White House. The first thing is to remove the United States from the Paris Accord and take away America from the whole climate change direction. The rest of the world has united against that, so America stands alone on that. Trump has also decided to ban Muslims from certain countries to come into this country. That has also caused a backlash. But the greatest thing, according to Iman, that Trump has done that is most disturbing is what he did last week. Trump went to Israel. And it's very interesting to observe the outcome of this visit. Because Trump went into Southeast Asia and he toured Japan and those countries, China, and then reached back America. Not a thing happened. And he goes into Israel, and by the time he leave, the whole place explode. Because that's a very volatile and dangerous place that Americans maintain Israel as a government. And this is the point where I and I now must pay attention. Because previous American governments have always spoken on behalf of Israel. Israel has a stronghold in America, in American politics and American economics. And all presidents prior to Trump have talked the talk that they think that Jerusalem should be the capital. They've all said it. They've all talked the talk that the embassy should also go to Jerusalem. All governments, all the presidents before Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, all of these men have suggested that this is something that should happen. The difference in this time now is that Trump also made that same promise on the campaign. And what is happening with Donald Trump now is that he's trying to manifest his campaign promises. It's just that domestic promises are not the same as international agreements. And a domestic promise of Trump has now clashed with several international agreements, agreements that America were locked into for years. So Trump is attempting to disband the deal with Iran. He has attempted to destroy NAFTA by attempting to claim to withdraw from NAFTA. So, in pulling out America from everything, because from his perspective, all of these deals must be renegotiated. So he's not viewing these as international agreements. He's calling them deals because he's not a politician. He's a businessman. So in going to Israel now, Trump with his narrow perspective has decided not just to say what other presidents have said about Israel, but he's going to do it because according to him, that was his campaign promise. And in the doing of it now, the man has triggered off a tremendous amount of violence and a potential war, which who will benefit from it in the long run? Who will benefit from another war? So there's a potential war in the Korean Peninsula, and now the fuse has been lit in Israel. War in Israel, war in North Korea. And in today's world, there was a fire, there was a pipe bomb that exploded in the New York City subway system today. So there is terror grip. There's a grip of terror now on New York City. So the whole globe, as far as the Western world is concerned, is one that has to be dealt with security, violence, and war. What is going to happen in the Middle East is very interesting. And we have to begin to examine now, who is Israel? Why is it that even black people now, even Rastafari, embracing this concept of Israel? That Trump has now drawn the history of the Bible into domestic and international politics. And the people who are defending Israel are using the Bible as them reference and them refuge. And I want to go into that Bible. And I want to look at Israel. I want to look at the birth of Israel. What does Israel represent in the world? How does Israel have nuclear weapons? And the great struggle that America is trying to organize against Iran is international politics, is global politics. And it's a time for black people to identify ourselves. Where are we in this confusion? Metamorphosis.
I pray thee. Why do thee then rage and the people imagine of such vain things? Vast kings of the earth that set themselves on the ruler state council together against the Lord God Rastafari and against his anointed saying, now come let us break their bands of sunder and cast away their cards from us. The holy that seateth in his heaven shall laugh. The Lord God Rastafari shall have them in his region. For then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his soul displeasure. For yet have I set thy kings upon the holy mountains of Zion. I will now declare the decree. The Lord God Rastafari hath said unto I and I, that thou art thy sons this day have I begotten thee. No acts of fire and I shall give thee then for thine inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for their possession. Jah shall break them with a rod of iron. Jah shall dash them in pieces like a pot of vessels, I will say. So be wise, therefore we kings, be struck to thee fast judges of the earth. Serve the Lord God to Rastafari with fear, rejoice with tremble. Kiss I an idle son unless he be younger, or perish from his ways. God. When his wrath is kindled but the liquor. And so blessed be all, blessed be everyone, as I would say. And blessed be all they that put their trust in the true and living God, Rastafari. That this man shall be like the holy mountains of Zion that cannot be removed but abideth forever. Cause so the mountains round about Jerusalem, And so the Lord our God, Jah Rastafari, is round about his people, I would say. The light of the wicked shall not rest upon the righteous, unless this individual righteous put forth his hands into iniquity. So do good, O Lord God, Jah Rastafari, unto them that are good, and unto those that are upright in their heart. Cause such as when I turn into his crooked way, he don't say. The Lord God, Jah Rastafari, shall not turn his back to give the count to the right of his people. And you know, come and make me tell them about the sun of color. To the Satan,
So, Metamorphosis rolling through. As I said to the listeners, this is a tall set of reasonings that will not be resolved in this one program. I'm just kind of giving you some of the outlines on some of the areas that I and I will be penetrating. And later on in the month, final program, we'll take your phone calls as to what is it you think about, what is it that is really happening. One of the major things that this Trump has brought to the whole world is a thing called, what I call he has removed the whole idea of what is called political correctness. Yes, there was a concept called political correctness. Another word for that is being diplomatic. But the bigger term and the more practical language is being hypocritical. So what Trump has come with is something that has nothing to do with political correctness, because Trump is not a political animal. So removing political correctness now, what he has done is expose the nakedness, the raw nakedness of American culture. And in that nakedness now, the groups that make up America now really see how white America treat them. So there's no need to be politically correct anymore. Trump has given white people the license to be white. And when you're being white, you must begin to demonstrate your superiority. So that's how America will become great again, when the white people begin to demonstrate their superiority. So we have to see what this political correctness is and how it has affected black people all these years. Or we just lie and tell lie. It makes us not speak the truth in this concept of being politically correct. So we're become hypocritical liars. And calling it being diplomatic is liar tell, because the thing don't gossip, but you don't want to tell the truth. So you color it up and you use all sort of euphemisms. Trump not into that. Trump vocabulary is limited. So they think bigly and it's great and it's tremendous and it's wicked. It's simple language. They don't know how to use the language of Obama that is quoted. That when him say it, you just roll over and feel like you're high. These are language of those who have been trained by this society to speak in polite terms. And what Trump has done is removed political correctness and tell you where him feel and where him think. And there's a lot of America who think and feel the way him think. So I'm on a first time now after drafting up and examining Trump, because the American system has decided to give him a medical checkup, you know. They have declared that Trump must do a medical. And if they're concerned about his medical condition, you know, it's reflected by his behavior and decisions that he's making. Is this man stable? Is he a psychopath? What is the basis of his thinking? And I man conclude within a year of observing and analyzing that Trump has an agenda. He has an agenda, but the agenda has nothing to do with the policies of America. It's an agenda. And the agenda is motivated and inspired by the billionaire class. And ultimately, it is backed up by the military. So when we look at how a plantation is organized and the forces and institutions that run the plantation, the one that is everywhere is the military. And then there's the state and the church. And then there's the media. And the media now is a mighty power in America, as I was saying earlier, through Hollywood. And so these forces come together to help to define who becomes the president of the United States. They defined and determined that it was time for a black man, a mixed man, to go into the White House to calm down the terror that Bush had created. Bush brought terrorism into the world as an ideology and a practice. It began to defeat the Americans globally. And Obama was an important ease of the distress, where Bush could make a sentence, just like Bigley. Obama would quote words and reach out with long statements that just melt your heart and, yeah, bring America to a more level of respect. But the powers that be determined that time is up. And so what you have in the White House now is a leadership that is driven by an agenda. And the agenda is motivated by money. And one of the important elements in American society that makes money is war. And when war are booming, so will and does the American economy. So that is the nature of America. And so when we look at the leadership now, and look at this decision to name a next country capital for them, and the next day, war start out. And the planning of the war now is intensifying because these Palestinians now need to recognize that they know so that they're on their own now. That America is no longer a negotiator in any kind of peace policy in the region. And so they're going to have to take it up onto them own. And when we say take it to them now, it's going to be arms. So we can look around the corner and see that in the new year, the new calendar year, there's going to be great turmoil in that region that they call the Middle East. And the turmoil to the extent that countries like Iran, which is who America really trying to get at, because remember now, Iran have their nuclear program. And it's long time America, just like them dealing with Korea, trying to tell them and them to stop it. So they think Iranians having nuclear weapons is a threat, but not a threat to America, a threat to Israel. But paradoxically, Israel also is already armed with nuclear weapons. So you can see the bias and the triple standard by those who have the power. So what we're realizing now is that the United States, under Trump, has no regard for any previous treaties. Because everything that the Americans used to hold as a treaty and a pact or an accord is no longer valid. And the direction that the country is being taken, the United States, black people now have to stop and check and wonder where we're going. Are we along this Trumpian journey? Is it time to rethink? And the rethinking now is inspired by examining the last 50 years. Last 50 years from Martin Luther King come on the scene and convince black people that they must integrate. And that integration is the solution to the oppression being dealt out by white people. And the black people in this Western world have the same experience on plantations in North America and in the Caribbean. Same experience. Brutality, sodomization, you name it. Everything happened to it. And we also all experienced what was emancipation. Black man in America was promised 40 acres and a mule. The black people in the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica, were released into apprenticeship where they must slave for another couple of years. And none of those persons were given any land. So the black man in America never get land, neither did the black people in the Caribbean. Because the white people realize and know that land is the basis of power. And the black people are still landless. So we see that the conditions have not been different between North America and the Caribbean. So the black struggle was unified, coming right through 1800s, into the early 1900s. And the struggle intensified both in the Caribbean and in the North American scenario. So when the forces of white domination thought it was too barbaric now to release the dogs and the black people and the bombings and the whole slaughtering of black people and them cities and wiping out Black Wall Street and wiping out black people in Florida, a whole heap of killing, John Crow law, a whole set of legislations set up against black people, but still find a way to fight. And the fighting wasn't unconscious, disorganized fighting. It was intellectual and psychological in our journey towards the war, because the war was about self-recovery, recovering of identity first. So the black struggle in America now would have produced Medgar Evers, and would produce other black leaders who would force black consciousness onto the American scenario. So by the 1950s, 60s, civil rights movements, black people in America begin to demand what they want to know, equal rights. So we have to understand the journey that this American white system began to go into appeasement because of the violence of black people and began to give little crumbs, give off some little programs and open education, and more black people start get bachelors and more people start get master's degree, and the things start get a kind of way. And it would bring forth a man like Martin Luther King onto the international local scene. It also brought along Malcolm X. And white America never supported the ideas of Malcolm X. And those are the ideas that 2017 we may need. Malcolm X ideas was all about building black nationalism, black economics. Martin Luther King now came with the dream. And this is where I think we need to begin to examine our own heads. How many people fell into that dream? That I have a dream that one day little black kids and white kids would walk up and down the street. How many people fell into that speech? That speech has been glorified and put on the highest level of reception, but it has been one of the biggest crutch in the liberation of black people. Because what has that dream been about? So that dream was began to be articulated by the 1960s, 67, 68. And by 68, them shoot him. So them shoot the dreamer. And apparently the black people were determined to try to carry out the dream. And that dream has been a terrible dream. It has been a long period of dreaming from the middle 60s. And in that dream, while the dream was going on, there were black people who were still dealing with African consciousness, who recognized that Africa was the only solution, that brought the black consciousness now to the globe, through music and through sports and through entertainment. Black athletes and black sportsmen coming to the front, and there's a higher level of black consciousness now by the 60s, late 60s, going into the 70s. And most people will call the 70s the period of consciousness. And everybody make reference to the 1970s, period of black consciousness, where everything black became beautiful. Yeah, those who were born after 1990 don't know this necessarily. That in the 1970s, everything black was beautiful. The hair that the Miss Universe wear in 2017, that was a natural and normal way of women wearing them here in the Afro in the 1970s. That wasn't outstanding. That was the norm. So we have to begin to question ourselves now, how we move from that level of African black consciousness, how we lose the drive for Pan-Africanism, how we lose the drive for self-reliance. What happened in that 70s period that by the 1980s, the things started reverse? And I'm saying it is connected now to the change of government at Washington. And by 1980, America would be introduced to Ronald. And the world would experience Reaganism. Not, we can't even call what we have been calling Trumpism, you know. Because maybe it is. But we were introduced now to Reaganism. And Reaganism then governed the earth by itself, Western world. There was a collaboration between the Americans and the Britons, just like today. So Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, she was the partner to Ronald Reagan. And we mustn't leave out the Jamaican and Caribbean scene when we had Edward Seaga. And the three of them made a triumvirate. Edward Seaga, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher. And these would represent the new force to govern the world. And this new force would begin to reverse the cultural achievements of the 70s. The political arena in the 70s was about socialism. And the 1980s would wage war against socialism, against African consciousness ideas. And the tables will begin to turn. And so we're going to continue to explore now from the time of Ronald. And we want to take it from Ronald to Donald and examine whether the black people must wake up out of the dream. And how do we move forward with this struggle that is being created around us? Can we embrace the Jews of Israel? Can we free ourselves from the false news in the Bible history? How can we claim to be African people while still claiming to be an Israeli? How do we negotiate the God of Israel? Is that God of Israel the God of the African people? Or is that the same God that people today say, God save the Queen and God bless America? Whose God do black people give homage? Metamorphosis.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
Access representing Suncover Foundation featuring King Tuff present a day and night event called Boxing Day Invasion, Tuesday 26th of December 2017 at Mount Pleasant Alley School, Portland. Music by Kilimanjaro, DJ Mookie and surprise DJ. Come out and check out our free kids zone. Whole heap of game and prizes to be won. Bingo and domino competition. Admission $199, day event free. NSC special all night. Bus leaving water at 10 a.m. Access to the Kushite.
DIB Block Factory and Hardware presents their massive paint sale happening right now at all 3 locations. Up to 25% off some paints. Paints as low as $1,165. Can you believe it? In this time, DIB massive paint sale is on at all 3 locations. 7 Thompson Avenue, Buff Bay, Main Street, St. Margaret's Bay, and 44 William Street, Port Antonio. DIB massive paint sale. Come now on until December 31. The big paint sale. Your foundation starts with us. DIB Block Factory and Hardware.
DIB Hardware will be opened every Sunday until Christmas from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Port Antonio branch only.
Hey, why don't you cricket? Why don't you cricket?
Greetings, Jamaica. This is Oracle Zar Production.
Hi, this is Empress Yataway.
And right now we're introducing a single by Empress Yataway called Naya Bingi.
Empress Yataway is saying this 12-track album, including Who Am I, Cricket, are all revolutionary songs to take you to a spiritual place.
Promoted by Oracle Zar Divine Production.
And you can check out the singles now available on YouTube and all digital online stores.
Check it out.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice. We never close.
Sleep. How that sound? Black people are slumbering, but not all of us are asleep. So, again, Trump taking center stage. And that is what he loves still. But to me, him earn it this time from the perspective of the metamorphosis. What I'm going to know, I'm going into biblical history to reference in behavior. And the Bible now becomes a controversial site and source. And it's just that in the life of black people, it's something that we are trained never to question. Yeah, because them tell us it's God's word. And if you question God's word, you shall be burned in fire by damnation and all of them kind of things there. We are reached upon the earth already. So, when we draw now upon this movement by the Trump to bring Israel into the front line, this move has unified all the political parties in Israel, you know. Yes. All the political parties in Israel now, for the first time, they are united. And it made me wonder what could happen in Jamaica if I make the PNP and the GLP unite. What could possibly happen? You have any idea, Cassidy? None at all. But no, that one is hard. What could happen in a Jamaican life? Because we're feeling violence to the extent wherein we're almost as dangerous as Syria in places like Montego Bay. And not even that can bring the PNP and the JLP together. So what is it that needs to happen before those two tribes realize that they must try to defend Jamaica and not them party? So the move by Trump has brought all the coalition that makes up Israeli government. They have now united for the first time. And according to the Prime Minister, Trump is just simply dealing with reality. So reality now has to be questioned, because reality is based upon perspective. And so black people now must also begin to examine what perspective are we using to look out after see events in the world. What is our perspective? And the perspective comes from where you're grounded in. So the European who's grounded in Europe has a European perspective for everything he and she says and does. Same thing with the Indian and the Chinaman. The Israelis have an Israeli perspective. What is the perspective of the black people? What is the African perspective? What is the black man perspective of events as they unfold? So this decision now, I said to the item, out of all of Trump's decision, this one here get my attention. Because this place now that they call Israel, it's too Israel, you know. Let us break it down to a level where we can see what we're talking about. It's too Israel. There is a Bible Israel, a Israel that we can read about in the King James version of reality. And there's an Israel now that was created by the British and the Europeans and the Americans. A state called Israel. So it's two Israel we are dealing with now. So when Trump and the Americans declare that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, it contradicts and conflicts now with other religious groups like the Palestinians or the Muslims, the Arabs and the Muslims, whose history also speaks of Jerusalem as a capital. So we have contending forces for Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is just a name, but it is grounded in biblical history, particularly. So which one is Israel now you think Trump dealing with? Trump is tucked into the state of Israel that was created by the British. And for some of you who don't know, you have to just do the search up and realize when was Israel created? Why was it created? And in a brief, I will just say that this is a place that was used to give refuge to the Jews that were being chased out of Europe by Hitler. And these wandering people had no homeland. And so the American government and the British government and these other white forces decided to create a state where these people could call them home. But remember, no, so everywhere in the place, people live already. And so they go into the Bible now to connect these people with the Jews that the Bible speaks of. This is a political, religious trickery. And so these wandering people who were being chased out of Europe were given a state created through violence. And the land that they were given, people were on it. It's the same way their explorers would come into places like the Caribbean and see people on the island and through violence remove them and control the land. So the state of Israel was created through violence, and in that violence the Palestinians were pushed off their property. They were pushed off the land that they were living before these Jews came. And they have been pushed off from the 1948 situation. And in this process, the Jews there have been funneled and financed by Western powers, particularly the United States of America. To the extent where Israel coming like it's a proxy state of America. It's a state of America in the middle of the oil-rich territories. And America has pumped tremendous amount of money and military resources into that land. And so there's always been a dispute by those who have been the original residents and those who have come in as colonizers. But because the colonizers have the military might, those who are being colonized must turn to what they call guerrilla warfare. And I will not spend the time getting into the issue, the real struggle between Israel and Palestine. But the point is that this decision by Donald Trump has slapped all of those countries in the face, because these countries were on a tradition and a track where the solution to the region would be to having two separate states, parallel states. The Palestinians have their place and the Israelis have their place, but Israelis are not interested in that. And so this move gives them strength and consolidate their position that they must be sole controllers of the land. So it's a war that has been unleashed by Donald Trump. And this war has begun already because it started the day after him leave. And what is the war all about? It's a very serious thing because one country has nuclear arms. And America is not concerned that this country is a threat to the world, but they are concerned about North Korea. So the two Israel them now, the biblical history now is the one that control black people. It's the biblical history control the minds of black people because the Europeans in the enslavement process give I and I the Bible as our book of guidance. And not only was it a book of guidance, it was the word of God. But it was the God of Israel. This is the funny thing now about the Bible God, you know. The Bible God is the God of Israel. The God of Abraham. The God of Moses is the God of Israel. So a lot of black people in the Western world now who read the Bible and internalize the struggle of the Israelis think it's them. And so we are confused now in today's world because these Israelis are white people. And the impression that we get out of reading the book is that the Jews were black people in the Bible history. So all of them things you know Iman will question because Bible history now is not African history. Bible history is Hebrew literature. And much of it is fiction. Much of it is fable. And so I and I have to examine now, how is it that we are holding on to the God of Israel? When did we become Jews? And did we not have our civilization and cultures long before the first Jew was born? So we see modern day politicians using the Bible now as a justification. Because these people calling themselves Jews say that they are descendants of the Jews that the Bible speaks of. And when you check those Jews now, enough black people call themselves Jews. Enough black people call themselves Israeli. And beginning members of the tribes of Israel. It's Bible history. King James Bible history is not black people history. It's not the history of West Africa. It's not the history of Central Africa. It's not the history of Southern Africa. It's the history of a set of people who came into Africa as refugees, came into Egypt as refugees, and spent 400 years there. And later on had to be chased out. And so I and I must disconnect ourselves from that biblical Israel. I must begin to cite up what is it that is happening today with these Palestinians, and the land that they are on is their land, and that the land that is state of Israel on is occupied territory. So we see that the Americans have their own agenda. We see that the agenda is not driven by what used to be American foreign policy. It's being driven by an agenda that deals with rearranging the world forces, reconstructing world power, connecting the United States with Saudi Arabia, connecting America deeper with Israel, connecting America with Pakistan. So I and I can't just sit in and complain about Trump and Trump racist, because that's what he is. And nothing will change it because the man is unwilling to be politically correct. In other words, he refuses to be a hypocrite. He might tell you the truth from his white Anglo-Saxon Protestant perspective. So we just have to wake up. And so the dream that the black people have been in from 1967 continued through Ronald Reagan. But Ronald Reagan came now with a new agenda and began to turn the wheels tighter now on black man in America. And the prison system began to expand. And incarceration began to increase. Yeah, we have to recognize where the thing starts, and how the turn back and how the reversal has been in place. So the 80s was a period of reversals, where slackness music in Jamaica broke loose. And everybody started talking about who pregnant and under this and under the that and the right this, and the vulgarity became a norm now in Jamaica. So the cultural foundation of the 70s in Jamaica was wiped out by the middle of the 80s. Yeah, no more charity. The focus was on strictly money. Yeah, volunteer work started slow down. Everybody I look at hustle now, and the globe was changing. And capitalist forces now began to become dominant again. And so black people now in this movement started to think more about myself now than about we. The collective consciousness began to get a beating, and the individual began to surface. And everything was all about me. So we started going to the me culture. By the end of the 80s, we're into me. Everything was about me. It's all about me. The songs, everything was about me. And the collective black power began to fade away. It will only get worse as we will move into the 90s and experience now what the white man would call globalization. What will be the effect of globalization and the reversal of the gains of black people in the 70s? Metamorphosis coming true. Yeah, Metamorphosis here. Dr. Iman Blak looking into the Trump. Looking first, examination. Nearly 1 year since Trump has come to the throne of the White House. And so this is his 1 year report. And the report is mixed. Because it's obviously that this president has come to disrupt. But in his disruption, there's also unification taking place. Can the black people join the unification wagon while Trump disrupts? And the disruption has just begun. And the depth of it now is being exposed by this latest move by the United States to go into a region that is fraught with danger and where violence is almost like a norm, where it appears that peace is a time when the man rests to simply regroup to war again. And so what Trump has kicked off, remember now, North Korea still on the border, ships them down there, trial run and go on same way, and them prepare for this preemptive strike on another in a nuclear situation. This one now is like digging up an ant's nest. Right? Them don't fire no shot, but shots start fire already. This is the volatility of the move. And I can't stay out into this aspect of the plantation and just look on like it's Hollywood. It's not theater. They call it a theater of war. But I must realize that we in the war a long time. Just that we're not organized as one force. And we're not organized our energies against the one enemy. But the Trump will cause it. Because his actions have nothing to do with manifesting potential and greatness out of any other set of people except his people. So his agenda is called MAGA, M-A-G-A, Make America Great Again. That is Trump's agenda. And when you say Make America Great Again, we have to recognize now that when the Trump administration speak about America, it's not the America that exists today. It's not America 2017 or America in the 1970s where black people was getting off and rising up in them culture. That's not the America that Trump talking about that was great. The great America that Trump speaks about is the same America that one of them senators who was running for the Senate, forget his name, him say the greatest period in America was during slavery. Yes, forget his name. But his argument is that America had its greatest period when everybody cared for each other and families were more together. It's during the period of slavery. So I must look keenly now into what these men say, because it's obvious that in these men's meditation, slavery was the best. And Trump is not far from that meditation. His billionaire friends think that the football players, the black man in the NFL, getting too much. And that they're SOBs because they're not bowing down to the culture of the American flag. So this is an awakening. And I'm saying now, hopefully now this will be the awakening of the black people who fell into the dream of Martin Luther King. So the dream continued right through the 80s. And individualism took over. And everybody talked about making it. But then something significant happened towards the end of the 1980s. If I realized that this period was called the neoliberal period, where, money and capital were made the driving forces behind every activity. But by the end of the 1980s, as two significant events occurred globally that would influence and affect black people's state of mind and would probably bring us deeper into the dream. The first event took place in Europe. And this is not in a sequence. But one of the events happened in Europe and one happened in Africa. The event that happened in Europe was the culmination of Reaganism and Thatcherism and Popism. And these forces were significant to help to bring down the Berlin Wall. Yes, Reagan, very, very important. He swore on that would be part of his agenda. And he accomplished his agenda because the USSR pull up and pull down the Soviet Union. So watch when these presidents come with them agenda and what is really American foreign policy. Oftentimes they contradict each other. Oftentimes. So what you know, Reagan achieved his agenda. He was able to dismantle the Soviet Union with support from Britain, Margaret Thatcher, and their Caribbean colleague in Edward Seaga. Because let's just not forget that this region of the Caribbean is highly influenced by both Cuba and Jamaica. And because Cuba was already the flagship of the Soviet Union, it was very important to Washington that America hold on to Jamaica. And that Jamaica become the flagship of the United States. Which is why when Seaga won the election in 1980, he was the first visitor to Washington to meet Ronald Reagan. That is not accident. These are political strategies. Seaga and his wife were invited to Washington, first foreign guest, head of state, to visit under the new Ronald Reagan. So it's a whole global change the 80s underwent. And when that change now, black people's culture was being watered down. The value systems were being ridiculed and reduced to nothingness. That by the time we get to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Europeans felt as though the East and West dichotomy was over. And that there was no unity between East and West. And so the world would no longer be in a state of tension with war on the horizon between America and Russia, because there's no more Soviet Union. Soviet Union pull up, all that was left now was Russia. The other event, and this one is a great deception, was that the Europeans decided to release a political prisoner that they held for the last 20 odd years, who had become a symbol of resistance for black people. And I speak about Nelson Mandela. And so the man them hold a black man in prison for over 25 years. You check it out. Over 25 years of a man incarcerated. And when it was politically expedient and politically correct, they released him. And it created a global feeling that apartheid had come to an end. Deception. Apartheid never ended. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the Trump experience. So if we revisit what happened with the release of Mandela, what happened to black people's energy for resistance, is it that we all thought that we were now free, that the black people could now live a life of equality and justice in this big white plantation? Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
Architects, draftsmen, and surveyors, get your drawings printed in high-quality professional standards. We can satisfy your printing needs. Whether it is for presentation to your clients or for submitting building and subdivision application, make it VJ Printing Services. Whether drawing by hand or with computer-aided softwares, we will plot your negatives and print the copies as you need. We do high-quality white paper printing that is water-resistant and never fades, unlike traditional blueprint. For more information, call VJ Printing at 893-2266.
Are you
dynamic, it's romantic, it's soothing. On the Caravan of Love with Chungy every Wednesday 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. only on Styles FM.
DIB Block Factory and Hardware presents their massive paint sale happening right now at all 3 locations. Up to 25% off some paints. Paints as low as $1,165. Can you believe it? In this time, DIB massive paint sale is on at all 3 locations. 7 Thompson Avenue, Buff Bay, Main Street, St. Margaret's Bay, and 44 William Street, Port Antonio. DIB massive paint sale. Come now on until December 31. The big paint sale. Your foundation starts with us. DIB Block Factory and Hardware.
DIB Hardware will be opened every Sunday until Christmas from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Port Antonio branch only.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice.
To identify the causes and the rhythm that we have been on and how to really establish a trajectory collectively, because this collective voice has dissipated and everybody has become a little atom unto themselves. And critical to this process now has been the introduction of the internet. The 1990s also saw the internet age come on stream. And there was a rapid improvement in communication and transportation. And that gave rise to the idea of people being so closely connected now through this device that the world became closer. And in that closeness, we got the idea now that everybody living in a village. So this is the forces of the media and the powerhouses now redefining and reclassifying how the world look and how it stay. And so they put us in that thing now called globalization. In other words, now they move from the established East versus West struggle. And struggle no longer existed, but guess what happened? One power still remained. So although there were two superpowers that maintained the establishment of the world order, with the removal of one, it means there's only one leave. And this one now never want to go around claiming that there's one superpower and everybody must bow to the one. So they come up with a term called globalization, which is really creeping Americanization. Is America now taking over the whole world, but them don't want to call it what it is. Because the Russians, Soviet Union has been defeated. And so what they're going to spread now is not Sovietism and Soviet communism now. What they're going to spread now is Americanism. And they spread it under this banner called globalization. And so a lot of our generations now who have been born since 1990 have a total different view of the world than those who experienced the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And those African people, black people within America or the Caribbean who were born from the 1990s have been given a sense of feeling that they are free. Because when they born, Mandela free. And not only Mandela free, we were given the illusion that apartheid had come to an end. Not realizing that apartheid didn't really begin in South Africa. Apartheid really began in America. And apartheid is still alive and kicking in America today. It is stronger now because of the nature of the president. Apartheid has risen up its head in North America now, and the black people in America can't understand that because they're under the illusion that they were into this dream of everybody becoming one and sharing this great American pie. Well, this is a lie. And it's being revealed daily. Enough black people are in shock and denial. But many are awakening. And so I'm saying we have to advance the awakening, the call for the awakening out of this dream. And look at the reality of race and the power of segregation, the power of Pan-Africanist thought, the power of Garvey, power of self-reliance. So, them knock us off course by the end of the 70s. As a people, we have been going off course through the 80s and the 90s into the 2000s. But give thanks for the appearance of the awakener, the great unifier and the great divider in one. DJ Trump. And his agenda is what black people must recognize. They must use that as something to wake up themselves. The man in this campaign declared that he would reverse every policy that Obama put in place. And that is exactly what is being done. And so rather than focus on what the campaign promises have been that are being fulfilled, look at the results and where do black people stand. So what is going on in America now and the whole idea of America being isolated. Remember now, the United Kingdom, Britain, is the foundation out of which America coming on. And Britain start the ball rolling when they withdraw from the European Union. That kickstart the whole thing now, you know. Yeah, and all Trump is doing is moving along the same course. So these are two dinosaurs that govern the Western world. The United States and the United Kingdom. And so anytime the system is going to collapse, it's going to be two of those houses going to go down. And we already see UK looking shaky. And we see America getting shaky. And the shakiness of America now is being reflected by the racial war that Trump has inspired inside America. And his attitude in barring certain groups from coming into the country, it's inspiring those who are inside the country to strike back at him. And so today in America, bombing in the subway system. Yeah, serious thing, reminding people of 9/11 and the terror threat that may be raised now. And so police in England and police in America is going to be, we'll probably start outnumber citizens on the road. And we see the building of the police state. We also see it here in Jamaica, where violence has become a part of an industry. And so when you find 119 guns and an arsenal heading for the island, we have to stop and check, you know. Who benefits from these type of movements? Who benefits from violence as an industry in a place like Jamaica? And the Jamaican history now shows that it is the politicians who first brought guns into Jamaica. They are the ones who introduced guns here. Guns now coming in left, right, and center, some even beyond their control. And rather than unite to fight against the incoming of the guns, the parties have turned on each other. And both of them are responsible for guns in the country. So they're not trying to solve the issue. They're trying to confuse the people. So if we look around and be a part of this awakening, where the black people now recognizing now that racial consciousness is vital. And integration is not the answer. This thing about diversity was a propaganda and an experiment. Now, the white people of America are saying diversity will lead to their extinction. It's going to lead to them brown out. And so them holding on to them whiteness. And you can't blame them. So black people now, rather than follow and bleach to look like a white man, it's best that we hold on to our blackness. That is our identity. And the black man in America must recognize more that he has no ownership over the land in America. He was used as slave labor. And slave labor is not owners. So one of the first things that black men have to do in America now within this Trump era is begin to disown America as a homeland and begin to sight up the African continent. Yes, because you remember now, the white man can't deport no native born black man in America. So when him can't get rid of him, he must put him into prison. So the prison industry is established, where prison labor is used by the white dominant class to manufacture all sorts of goods and services. So what the Trump is doing is exposing the raw nakedness of racism. It's shaking up the Christian Negroes who think that some intervention by some divine force will take them out of the condition that they are in. The transformation comes when you recognize, first of all, that you're not an American, that you're a black, and that you're an African, who have been transported to America for generations and generations, but was always recognized as a slave. So as far as America is concerned, no matter what standard a black man reach, whether in education or money, he is still a Negro, still a descendant of a slave. And so that is probably part of the psyche why whenever rich blacks reach a certain level, whether they're men or women, them take a white woman or a white man as their partner. It's part of the psychology. So I'm going to say we have to pay greater attention to ourselves as black people, to economics. We see how Trump can interfere in sports. Them interfere in all activities in America that black people seem to be having some form of benefit. So it's just a wake up. Just a wake up. And we want the wake up call move right across the North American continent, right through the Caribbean. We want the wake up call take place on the African continent, where the Africans on the continent must shake off Allah and shake off Jehovah and hold on to their blackness and reclaim them ancestry. Metamorphosis.
Instead of fussing and fighting,
The 1990s is an important turning point because it's really the time when most people surrender to technology. Even them surrender the brain to the calculator, surrender them brain to the cell phone, turn over them will and them memory to machineries. And so this 1990s now even brought around some changes in the academic way of thinking, that because of this closeness now to communication and the internet and the cell phone and thing and the concept of the global village and globalization, there is also an attempt now to remove the notion of race. Because they try to put across the reasoning now that because we are all under a village, that we are just one family, and the one family now is the human race. And so if you hold on to them kind of thinking now, you will be swept away from the consciousness of being an African. Because in the 70s, black people wasn't calling themselves humans race, members of the human race. We were members of the African race. We're Africans all the way from the time them capture we and before. We were always black people. We were always Africans. And so with the movement through technology and money and the so-called opening up of the system, they have us thinking by the 1990s that we're not African, we are humans. And that we all belong to the human race. That even this teaching now become part of the academic training at the universities. And today you have black people now trying to force that ideology on you, that race is some kind of social construct. And we're not really belonging to any races. We have ethnic groups, but at the same time, we're all one race. So there's a contradiction. But we don't belong to no race except the human race. So before that concept of human was generated, the black people were Africans. The Chinaman was a Chinaman. The Indian saw himself as an Indian. It is a white man who come up with this concept of the human. Because he himself is a human. He has the colors. You slap him get red, and him get vexed, him get yellow, and him blue. He can change color. So the African now was being labeled now as a person of color. No, I totally reject that, you know. I is no man of color. I is a man of nature. Because black is natural. Black doesn't appear on a scheme of vibration that we call color. So whole heap of confusion now was being created through the media. Because the media now become the driving force of the 1990s. And everybody now will have access to a phone and a cell phone. And people would become no more isolated in a crowd because they could lock away themselves into them phone. So the culture changing and black people losing them culture as they begin to get more so-called technological and more non-African. So there's a serious period why we are facing this climate of Trumpism now and a sense of helplessness. So the 90s, reflection. They release Mandela, we think apartheid done. Everybody have their own cell phone, so we're free. We can travel all about the place now. So the deception of being free black people continue to perpetuate the atmosphere. And it will continue right through the 90s until we come up onto the Bush era. And the most infamous period of the early 2000s is 2001, when the globe would undergo another cataclysmic event, when the Americans orchestrated and supported a Saudi Arabia movement that brought down the World Trade Center. And so black people now caught up into this event in America. And when the white man decided that the only way you can stay here, you have to prove that you're a patriot. And they created this patriotism drive. And more black people came out to defend America. America, and the enemy this time wasn't the Soviet Union. The enemy now was the Muslims. And so America now, from the 1970s onward now, would no longer have the Soviet Union as an enemy. They would have a new enemy. The enemy would be Bin Laden. The enemy would be the Muslims. The enemy would be Iran. The enemy would be the oil-producing states. Because these are the states that control the economy that is driven by oil. So if we see what the world changing, and the world did change in the 1990s, and African people were just spectators, no longer conscious of being black, no longer embracing black is beautiful. What we have now is a tide switching. And we have people trying to look European again, going back to straight hair, going back to bleached skin, going back to mixed racial movements. And so with all of them kind of things that are going on, you know, all we're seeing is black people losing them power. Whatever was gained in the 70s and 60s, disappearing. But there would be some form of hope, because America now would have two experiences with the two Bush them. And they would take America into the bushes. America will lose our respect globally. And the only way they could resurrect themselves was to bring a character into the White House that had the power to reason and to communicate. And this character now was not John McCain. It wasn't any of those white men. They had to draw for the man with the language. This man had a black wife. This man had black children. This is Obama. And the black world rejoiced that the great white democracy were being fair. And they were demonstrating equality now. And that a black man would go into the White House. You imagine that? Great furor around the world, great excitement around the world. This even signaled black people more to think that everybody free now, black people free, black man time. Black man in the White House. And things would suddenly get better for black people, but little did the people know that this was an orchestrated move. How was it orchestrated now? Not by those who vote, but by those who really control America. And I said earlier, the forces that run America are the military, the state, the church, and more importantly now, a group called the oligarchs. The oligarchs are the billionaires that run most societies. Jamaica has an oligarch. We can name the families that run Jamaica. Russia has an oligarch. We can identify those who own and control the gas industry. America has an oligarch. These are the billionaire, wealthy white people, white men. And they're the same men who control Hollywood. And it's these forces that would orchestrate to bring to the White House a man like Obama. And it would put black people into a total slumber. Because Martin Luther King's dream had finally come true. That was a dream. But what was the reality? Libya still selling black people as slaves in 2017. Happening under the Obama regime. Gaddafi removed from power. So it's not a matter now of whether the president in America is black or white. It's recognizing the forces that direct America. The military and the oligarchy. Out of the oligarchy now, we have Donald Trump. Trump represents the oligarchy of America. And their interest is to make America white again. So black people need to wake up out of this dream of this polka-dotted, mixed-up nation of black and white people and begin to think about self-reliance. Black enterprises. And it's not just about owning black business, it's about black production. It's about owning production. Not the buying and selling of white goods and call yourself a black businessman. It's about production. So the awakening is here. And those who have eyes will see. And those who have ears will hear. Metamorphosis.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
Native Audio and Equipment Rental Services, now offering stage lighting and truss systems for your small and medium-sized events. Whether it's a stage show, concert, play, wedding, street party, or even club setting, you name it, we'll bring it to life. Call us at 871-5212 or 844-6531. Native Audio and Equipment Rental Services, proud sponsor of In the Know of the Law with Sergeant Delrose Green and Real Talk with Lady Cleo and Daddy Rude.
It's Wow Factor Tuesdays with Chungy and Shelly. Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's entertainment and interaction at its best. With features like the Share to Care segment, the Uprising 10 Countdown, and the ever-controversial Love Break. Yes, it's the Wow Factor. Your Tuesday mornings will never be the same again.
Are you thinking of a place, extraordinary place where you can get a wide variety of Jamaican cuisine, scrumptious local dishes, and at the most affordable price? Zilla's Kitchen has the widest menu to suit your appetite and lifestyle. We're located at Bridge Street, Port Antonio. Place your order for pickup or delivery service. Call us at 453-6030. That's 453-6030. Zilla's Kitchen, the restaurant of choice. We never close. We never close.
It's been a long time, decades upon decades under subjugation, financially, emotionally, psychologically. And we have to find ways to address these issues amongst ourselves. Because the forces that are outside of us enjoy when we are in a state of disarray. So we'll come to our own perspectives of what is reality and whose reality do we try to upgrade. You see, this Western plantation life is not a simple trad, and that has been put in front of us as a people to digest is really fast food. And as far as news, I never know that so much fake news really existed until Trump come to begin to speak about fake news. That I could realize that I could have found fake news as far back as in the Bible, because the New Testament is fake news. Yeah, the New Testament is fake news. Because that's not real. All these things about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is not real. These are fabrications out of the brains of men. Literature, imaginations. And I have internalized these things as reality. That when the reality really hit us, it's like it can't believe it, so we can't accept it, so we have to talk about what we believe in and think that the beliefs will save us from what is real. So what we really have to consider in this time, how do we as a collective demonstrate strength of purpose? How do we deal with the at-home violence? And how do we deal with the global poverty and lack of self-confidence? And we have to look into the institutions that govern us as residents and, you know, people living in these places. And we can't lose sight of the fact that power around the world, not spiritual power. That is the confusion black people under. We think we can pray our way out of negative conditions and pray until the enemy decides to surrender. The enemy will never surrender to prayer, because prayer don't move the enemy. What moves the enemy is force. Oftentimes brute force. And then the enemy decides to negotiate. That has been the practice. That is the policy. So the institutions we have to explore, and the one that I'm really looking at into this edition is the media. And the media is something that is critical because it deals with information and disinformation. It deals with confusion. And so the media tells the brain what to concentrate on, what is important for today, and it tells you what's important tomorrow. And if you don't have your own sense of purpose, every day you follow the news. Now, in a place like America, and in Russia, and in Jamaica, it is the army that has the ultimate power. We saw the example of that in Zimbabwe. It is the army. Now, who is it that pays the army? Who is it that makes the army and those men committed to their task? It's not the politicians. The politicians don't have the money to pay the army. So the ultimate power really rests in the military. And in the Jamaican sense, it is the Queen's Army, Her Majesty's Army, under the control of the Governor General, not the politicians. In the United States, the ultimate power rests with the military. Army, Navy, you name all various branches. But a simple way of describing that is, we call it the military-industrial complex. That is what drives America. That's what plans for the next 50 years in America, not the politicians, the military. So within the American context again, when a man like Trump comes to the White House, the military is given a free hand. Yes, because Trump comes with the notion that the restoration of America's whiteness and greatness, force is a critical element. Bullyism. And even in America today, what I'm calling bullying. Bullying has become almost like an epidemic. No, just recently I was reading where an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old little girl hung herself because of the bullying experience. And they put the experience on the Facebook, and she was so embarrassed that she killed herself. And killing herself seems to be becoming more popular now and regular. You see it right here in Jamaica. Man kill man and take away himself and kill himself. So we're on a very destructive path with our behavior. And we have to check out what is the source of our motivations. And again, we're looking at the media. And like in Jamaica, where the military is strong, and some set of men organize themselves as a state government. Same thing in America, there are politicians there. But the media For example, in Jamaica, the media is first established in 1834. The same year that them choose to emancipate the enslaved population. And the media at that time wasn't directed at the enslaved population because the population couldn't read English. But a source of information amongst the ruling class. And that's where they promote their ideas and maintain them cultural direction. Well, in the United States now, the big dog is Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood is a powerful institution that displays the culture of America. The movies, and the lifestyle, and the glamour and the glitter. And it has a lot of people aspiring now to get into Hollywood. And so, if you recognize, oh, Hollywood is powerful with their movie making and their money and the influence of youth culture and everything in America and the world, they now project Hollywood out into the world through MGM and Universal and the various movie houses. And it's from those sources now that the black population generally get information about things that they want to tell us. So when they want to tell us about Israel in the biblical way, they put up a movie and they write a script and they write a narrative, and we simply follow the narrative because that's what they write. And so we see Charlton Heston, and we see Ben-Hur, and we see the plagues of Egypt, and we see all of these things happening, and we internalize these things and think them to be real. So the plagues of Egypt now wipe out the Egyptians. There's no evidence of even anything, such a thing happening in real life. So we must begin to challenge now some of these narratives. Are they literal or are they figurative? I want to begin to query those stories. We're not talking about no word of God. We're talking about some stories. Stories written by men. Men who had a brain. And men who had a political agenda. And so when they project Israel in the movies, and that Israel becomes the children of God. You hear that now? It's a Bible story now, them putting into the movies, you know, to show you this story that Israel become the children of God. And African people now who follow the story all want to be children of God. And whose God is that again? Not the God of Africa. The God of Israel. So we have to deconstruct this concept of Israel. Because Israel is not a reality for black people. Israel is a biblical construct. And as much respect must go to I and I for fighting to free yourself from these concepts. The concept of 12 tribes of Israel is heavily debatable. Because like them try to say all African people come from those 12 tribes. So what about the tribe of the Akan people? What about the Ibu? What about the various tribes of Africa? How we put in these biblical tribes at the front and identifying with these tribes. And by implication, internalizing the God of these tribes. This is the God of Israel, the jealous God, the God of wrath. So we have to be very careful now, because what Trump has done has brought these things to the forefront. And giving these people justification to control and occupy other people's lands based upon Bible stories. The same Bible story that enough black people embrace. So we have to free our consciousness with information and understand the power of Hollywood. Hollywood is such a serious institution that the president and his behavior to women, we are realizing that that behavior is not just everyday behavior. It is the behavior of the rich white men, particularly who think that women are servants and women are slaves. So when Hollywood is operational, all the women there are subject to sexual harassment because it's a man-controlled, white man-controlled institution. And now everything is being exposed. inspired by the front grabber who's a president. This president is coming out of the Playboy magazine. This president talk about groping women, talk about kissing women, talking about feeling up women. This president push him hand up the skirt of the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, and push him hand up our frock. And it exposed and hit a raw nerve in America. That the women now are coming out in groves to challenge the nature of the president because he has sanctioned that type of behavior. So now we forget about Bill Cosby because Bill Cosby had too much ambition in Hollywood. Bill Cosby wanted to buy NBC. How dare him? How dare him try to own piece of that important and most important institution in America? So everything is coming out. That Hollywood really is a corrupted place where there are no moral values there. And it is a representation of the president and his nature in the White House. So everything coming to bump. And rather than just get up every morning and cuss Donald Trump because him willing a wall and reflecting on the smooth talking Obama, we hear black people saying, well, Obama was such a wonderful president, there were no scandals. Yeah, no scandals. This administration is ripped with scandals and investigations, but it is normal. It is normal. This is the way of the white man. So we, as a black people, have to wake up now that the political correctness has been removed. And we see the barbarity of this man. This is not a man that we need to be going to bed with his women. This is not a man we should try to integrate with and try to be equal with. We don't need no equal opportunity. What we need is an opportunity to establish our superiority. And it comes when we begin to unlearn much of the Bible stories, reject enough of what the God of Israel represents, and begin to check the God of creation. The God who said, let us make man in our image, males and females, since we have to hold on to something for strength. So if we want to hold on to scripture, make a check Genesis chapter 1. And make a check carefully now the God of Israel in chapter 2. The same God that hold black people ransom. But for free yourself and give thanks for the exposure at the highest level of American democracy. Showing black people that democracy is not about power of the people, for the people, and by the people. Democracy is all about power of white males, white educated males. That is the essence of democracy. We have to think about our collective security. The philosophy of collectivism, communalism, yeah, togetherness. Begin to worship family again. We have to reject the idea about mother having father have it, but the child have his own, because the child have his own, can't keep it, and going dead and leave it. And the same state going to recover it. So if we begin to build within the family structure, generational thinking, that's how the Chinaman reach where him reach. That's how the Indians reach where him reach. We have to use these times to regroup as a people. Metamorphosis.
Seriously, the most dangerous thing that exists in the world today is serious thing. Oh yes it is.
The Turkish Prime Minister has declared Israel as a terrorist state. Yeah, serious thing.
Can't get no pay. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. The little children, they can't go to school. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Teachers demonstrating for their salaries. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. To come home to find your children out of school and on the streets idling is a very serious thing. This arises from a situation where instead of teachers or in school teaching, they're on the streets demonstrating, and that's a so much wars and famine on the land. Let me tell you it's a serious thing. Yet we are making more war planes.
We have been experiencing over 400 years of institutional racism. The enslavement process began around in the 1600s, 1619, and it went for 200 years to about 1865. And from 1865 to 1866, they developed what they call black codes. This is in America now. And by 1865, the Ku Klux Klan came to full force. 10 years later, they started with the Jim Crow laws. So they realized, that the white man using laws to maintain racism in an institutional framework, because he creates the laws. So then there's a thing called redlining. That took place from about the 1870s into the middle 1900s. Well, redlining went right up to the 1960s. And then from 1973 onwards, there was mass incarceration of black people, building up the prison labor force. And then there came up with a thing called 3 strikes. So consistently, we have been experiencing institutional racism, heavy in North America, and it's not so different here in Jamaica. Because institutionalism of oppression here is not called racism, it's called classism. Institutional classism. And we see it in the education system, we see it in the church, we see it all around us here on this island. And things are not changing until those who are victims begin to change themselves.
Serious thing, so much in the prison, living in one cell. Let me tell you, it's a serious thing. Much more to joining in that smell. Let me tell you, it's a serious thing. Oh, to be confined to a cell which, like a cesspool, bears a smell is a very, very serious thing. To be stripped of all your rights, sanity, dignity, and liberty is a very, very serious thing. To be chained and shackled and thrown in a dungeon is a very, very serious thing. Working on a chain gang, it's more than that, it's a serious thing. Ain't got no liberation.
Yeah, it's a serious thing, serious times, crucial times. Well, I want to just pause here a little bit and heal up the ones them who found the time to come on my Facebook page on Saturday, to the first airing of Saturday Night Live on Facebook Live with Dr. Iman Blak. Heal up D, heal up Melchizedek, heal up the ones who were online. Saturday Night Live, every Saturday night from 9 to 11. You come to Dr. Iman Blak Facebook page. We should give you 2 hours of serious, thought-provoking prescriptions. So the program will be on again Saturday from 9 o'clock, Facebook Live. Dr. Iman Blak and Osa Boro. And we'll be running through certain reasonings continuously. And we'll have guests and we'll have some drummers and certain things. So it's live, Saturday Night Live. It's a medium that women need to explore and exploit. Not just for song and dance, but for transformation through information. So again, we heal up all those who were part of Saturday Night Live on Saturday, gone. And looking forward for the participation again next week. Of course, the first time was a little bit shaky. Camera upside down and testing, but we get it now. Have it now. And so Saturday night will be better. So I'm encouraging all my Metamorphosis persons and all people who have access to the Facebook to check me out on Saturday for Saturday Night Live. You hear our rain or fall, you hear everything live. That's the way the program is. So, as we continue now, looking into where we are as a people and how do we complete the awakening, how do we wake up ourselves further? Because, for example, now on a local level, there is no solution by the political parties to the violence that we experience. There is no solution because both of them are part of the problem. The both parties have helped to create the problem. Both of them are part of the problem. Same way, they're not a part of the solution. And this recent find now in Jamaica, we see fingers pointing. And they're pointing to one of the parties. And the party will try to point it to the next party. So rather than the two of them come together now to resolve the gun issues, they are pointing fingers on each other. So it shows you straight up that none of them have any interest in I&I. None of them have any interest in Jamaica. Their interest is in their own political party and maintaining them parliamentary seat. So we're not going to get an answer, no solution from the government. It is the people that we need to become aware that the government is not the answer. And begin to find ways to cooperate amongst our own selves as people. And one of the ways to really go about it now, is begin to identify, get your identity together. Know who you is as an individual. And move your identity beyond just because you're born on Jamaica Island. That's not sufficient for your identity. It limits it because that identity is just constrained to your nationality. So the identity construct now must move beyond the nation, beyond the island that you live on. So if you're born in Trinidad or you're born in Guyana, you have a national identity of either Guyanese or Trinidadian. Likewise, if you're born in Jamaica, you have an identity that makes you a Jamaican, but the identity started before you even born yourself. Your identity comes from your parents. And if your parents were born here, their parents, and when you begin to trace the line into where parents born, you find our foundation, our parental foundation, weren't born here, but that they were brought here through force. So the force cannot remove the identity construct. It can conceal it, it can cover it, it can mask it, but it exists. So once we move away those layers of deception and confusion, we go straight to who we are. And the eye of the African, the black eye, is at the foundation. So all of you here who claim yourself as Jamaican because you're born here, it's afraid to approach the fullness of yourself. It's a fear. And so you begin to hide on the island, not recognizing that we are visitors here. We were brought here forcefully. And our identity is in Africa. And if you come here and you come without your African identity, you have to reclaim it. And you reclaim it by knowing your African historical stories, not the stories in the Bible. Because the stories in the King James Bible don't upgrade African people. You don't talk about African people in a positive way. You don't even mention the word Africa in there, except in the Genesis in using the word Egypt. They speak about Egypt and we know that Egypt is Africa. But we're not holding on to the concept of the people being Africans and Egyptians because, again, the Bible tells us that Egyptians are the enemies. The enemies of the Israelis and enemies of Moses. So that is where the breakdown happening within the meditation here on the island. We're not seeing ourselves as African black people. We lock up into this national identity of Jamaican, and then the Jamaican now is further divided into a political identity. So you're either PNP or you're JLP. And so you're moving further away from your blackness into the traps of the Europeans, where we have this pseudo notion now of democracy. And in this democracy, the 95% is not benefiting. It is a small group. So the same thing was happening globally. It's the minority groups controlling the majority population. What is it that they're using? What is it they're using? Them control the land. And them control the army. And them control our brain. because them inject in our brain ideas that make us fearful. And the greatest fear that them put into man is not even the fear of death, but it's the fear of God. Look at that. And who is this God? The same God of Israel. It's a circle, a tight circle. But we have to unwind it and get your neck out of the noose. It requires courage and a lack of fear, because fear is so paralyzing. It paralyzes the brain and it stops you from thinking, and you just become dependent on beliefs. So we're in a very critical moment as a people, and the whole world is on an edge because the administration of the United States now is leading the globe in a direction that is creating panic. Panic in Europe. European leaders have come together to disagree with Trump and his decision about Israel. But as much as they disagree, they're still united as white people. Remember that. No matter how them disagree, they're sharing time on the International Space Station. They're sharing information. So let us not be deceived by their apparent disagreement. It's an apparent disagreement. They're united at the level of race. They're united behind them whiteness. I must take a page and begin to rally around with blackness. So blackness must become a political ideology. It was in the 70s. Black power. Now we are powerless. Wake up.
Crucial. I'm out on the rock now, with no clothes on my back, yo. No shoes on my feet now. I got nothing to eat, yo. Not even little flour. Crucial. To mix little
Yeah, it is so crucial that we get in a WhatsApp now. WhatsApp saying, well, there's no name, but perhaps, so you go. Person saying, well, very good points. I'm listening and love the show tonight. Person said, more times I feel we seek more white validation than freedom. And let me say that again. More times I feel that we're seeking more white validation than freedom. We behave like abused children, waiting for our parents to tell us that they love us. Hey, this is a serious observation. Person concludes by saying we need to learn to validate ourselves. No. Spot on. Serious observation. Good point. Serious, it's serious.
Not even little sugar. Crucial. To mix liquor wash, my gosh. Crucial. No bread nor butter. Crucial. Can't even make liquor sober. Crucial.
I want to throw out a question posed by a 13-year-old in the community of Harborview. The youth want to know, before there was money, what was the root of all evil? Yeah, the youth want to know. Because him hear people talk about the love of money is the root of all evil. Him hear me say the lack of money is the root of all evil. The youth want to know now, what happened before there was money? What was the root of evil? And if anybody know that, please share it today, man. Because again, it's scripture them lock pan way. Why we always short of money? And when money reach way, it leave us so quickly. It's some philosophies and ideologies them give away now. So the youth want to know, if money is the root of all evil, what was the root of all evil before money? And anybody who can think about that, must realize that youth, this, a 13-year-old. And this is the generation who want to think. Because those who I numbers and near to I numbers don't set in a cement, Not for alone set in a cement already. From 0 to 5, cark up. So all I do is discuss these things, but the change cannot be made because the cement foundation and unwilling to dig it up. So anybody who can provide a response to this. And of course on the Facebook page, a lot of people say, have to give us their own feed forward. Some say is greed. Some say before that the root of all evil was woman. One man to say that. Next person says man. And we have all different sort of responses. But this is how we have to begin to ask certain questions. Because they tell us that money is the root of all evil. Some say it's not money, but the love of money. Iman says that the love of money is the lack of money. But then are we to accept that there was no root, there's no evil root before money was invented? When men was bartering and trading, what was the root of all evil? So if somebody invent that statement, why I have a aversion to money, that we don't even know how to manage it, as we get to spend it. We don't know how to multiply the money. We don't know how to make the money triple up, because we have been told that money is a evil. But within the plantation societies that we live, it becomes the first need, not want, It becomes the first need because it is through that need why you can satisfy the other basic needs, which are what? The fundamental ones. Shelter, clothing, food, medicine. So the system organizes itself, the plantation, that to achieve and acquire these things, you have to have money, but at the same time, them telling you, you mustn't try to get too much money because you can't take it with you. All of these are false constructs because nobody wants to take money with you when you die. You want to leave the money for those who are living. So it's important to have a lot. So we must learn to accumulate the money. Let's not be afraid of the money. And that's what these governments, these oligarchies realize, that is money power around the world, along with the military. So we could awaken ourselves from the fear of money. And it's not about loving money, but it's about avoiding the lack of money. Shelter is crucial. Tired of the rent man. Black people tired of the rent man. Every 3 weeks, the rent man dip on your case. And you begin to feel as though you're slaving just for the rent. We're not even talking about the food and the transportation. And so when the people here who are employed now as workers of the government, and when you slave for the government, and the government telling you that you can't get an increase to meet your basic standards, what is the option? And those who call themselves government have enough money. They pay themselves enough money and them give themselves enough land. What is it about the population now why I must remain moneyless and landless? So if I brought down the whole ideology that is being promoted by the school and the church. And the church telling you to bring your money and give them because them have better use for it. But you don't know what to do with your money. So you make sure you tie it with them, that they can invest and have a bigger church, that the pastor can have a bigger car, that his children can go to school in foreign. So we have to wake up out of the slumber of this dream and this illusion. We see where the present government is dealing with national identification. And we hear people jumping up again and running to the Bible. Everything people running into the Bible to explain, them can't think it out himself. And the Bible is an orchestrated book authorized by a queer. By a queer. And we are reading these things as if it depends, as if our life depends on it. So it's the only things we have to shake off, I'm going to tell the item now, it's the first time Trump and his behavior forced me to look at what I'm doing globally and for the whole year. And I have asked questions if ultimately are there any similarities between the Trump government and the Holness government? What are the similarities? Because I see similarities. I see serious similarities between the two governments. And see what's going on and pay attention. And as I said, this program is continuous for the next 3 or 4 weeks with some guests in between, looking at from Ronald to Donald. Are black people still living in the dream of Martin Luther King? Or are we awakening from that slumber and beginning to see black nationalism, beginning to see the Pan-Africanist way of thought, beginning to see collectivism, beginning to recognize the black family as a source of our future, and begin to put away alien gods and teachings? It's a serious time. Serious. The reason again, the WhatsApp telling me that some person saying to me that there was always money. Person said barter was money. So it's the love of any medium of exchange that is the root of all evil. Now if you really want to accept that, then how the devil get involved now? How come the devil is the source of evil when the lack of the love of any medium of exchange is the root of all evil? You see the thing we have. Them have us thinking that this power to exchange is evil. It cannot be, because them don't tell you already now, say there was a devil that was in heaven who was kicked out and and is the source of evil. So when did the devil become money? I tell you, tell them Bonnie. Virgin Osabora say, man himself is the root of all evil. And then he transfers his weaknesses to other lifeless objects. So you say, we have to begin to query now, what is it they have been teaching us? How it really go? But what is this root of all evil? How can it be the thing that you use to exchange? How does evil get involved in an exchange? It does not make any sense to Iman. It don't mean say it don't make any sense, but to Iman it don't make any sense. And somebody can share the sense it make with them to Iman, and Iman will pay attention. So these are some of the things that becoming critical in our attempt to liberate ourselves from false teachings and fake news. And as I say, Trump has brought the concept of fake news right into our face. Something that people would never imagine from coming out of these major news medias, because somehow we attach honesty and morality and truth to white people's news. Because the feeling is that white people don't tell lies. Yeah, and when them tell a lie, it's a small lie, so it's a little white lie. Yeah, they don't tell big lies. Like the earth telling us that like the sun is the center, earth is no longer the center of the universe. Them tell us some very, very major lies. And we accept them because they come from white people. And when a black man says something, before him done talk, you tell him say a lie him a tell. Before him utter finish complete him talk, you start contradict and oppose and counteract. Because a lie him a tell. And when a white man talk, you don't interrupt him, you're afraid. You sit down and you sop it up like a little sheep. And then you get up and you spit it back out. as some kind of gospel. So the concept of fake news, I'm glad for Trump for that. Because I never even considered it too serious before. And the power of the media now. And we have to give thanks for the technology now, wherein independent people can become their own media. That's what the power of the telephone. It is through that medium why we were able to expose the Ku Klux Klan behavior in the police force. The police force in America have been shooting down black people from Rodney King days. But the technology wasn't there to show it. Now everybody have a camera, and as a shot fire man turn on them thing. And so that would help to bring to the reality the violence and the brutality of the American society. It has always been there, but it was being covered up under this regime of Trump. The cover up the covers are being removed. And as the new party in America would say, it's okay to be white. And white lives matter. And they're coming up with all sorts of things to contradict and counteract when black people try to declare their own autonomy. So this battle is just beginning. Why Trump just doing him first year? And as much as investigations against him continue, and the collusions, and the Russian connections, and the various things that are happening inside and outside of Washington, the regime has its agenda. And as black people, we must pay attention and begin to set up our own agenda as a people. And one of the things we can put on the top of the agenda is the disowning of America by black people. We have to get to that stage where black man stop going like him own America because he's slave there. You don't own nothing there. The white man has demonstrated that you don't own nothing, but you're labor power. And so we begin to organize with labor power and think about how we're going to apply our labor power on our own lands. Not on the states of America, but on the African continent. So it is a forward to Africa movement out of America that's going to be very essential. Because the Back to Africa movement inspired heavily by Garvey wasn't started by Garvey. It was a movement that was taking place in America before Garvey got there. Where certain Africans who were conscious realized that the American continent is no place for black man. That is a white man's empire. But the white man needs the black man there because he needs labor. So let us not be confused as a laborer to think that we are owners. And black people in America were never immigrants. Like, we have people escaping from places to run into America as immigrants. Black people were brought there under duress. So make us keep these things in the front of our consciousness and let go the whole belief and the feeling that this dream can become a reality. This dream is becoming a nightmare. The dream of Martin Luther King is a nightmare. And so it requires that to wake up black people. As I say, what will it require to wake up the black people in Jamaica? We're already under a level of violence that would be considered a civil war in certain countries based upon the per capita heads being killed and the population. So the media don't tell us that, because them don't call it that. But Iman see it. And we have to work towards the healing. And the healing comes when the people begin to realize, say, look, we have more than a family to take care of. We have a race. We must begin to invest in the recovery of our race, the black race, the African race, and fireburn this human race construct. Because humans need police. The animals don't need police. So something is wrong with humans. Metamorphosis.
scatters and shines like a beautiful stream. Hey, hey, it's here in this world and it's reigning supreme. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Knowledge and wisdom will lead us to freedom. Hey, hey, let us seek first the heavenly kingdom. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Sodom and Gomorrah, we don't wanna see. Mama world empire, we don't wanna see. Don't wanna see the world turn into a cemetery. Don't wanna see the world turn into a cemetery. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many people are fighting. Because of this something that keeps on glittering. Because of this something, so many
So now, I realize how the clock at work. I lie. Hey, whoa. Program are done. Alright, so as I said to the item, still this is a continuous reasoning within this whole disposition and dispensation that we're in. Because look at it now. Here we are now in 2017. And there's slavery happening in Libya. Slavery now, you know, the same thing where black people are being sold for money by Arabs. Right on the continent, 2017. So we thought by 1835 everything was over. We thought it was finished by the 1830s when the emancipation took place. But look what's happening in 2017. And look what's happening in Zimbabwe. They have removed Robert Mugabe and the white man now as the farmers. They're getting back them land. The same land that Mugabe took away, and people get vexed with Mugabe because they shouldn't take away the white man land. Mugabe recognized the power of land. So now the white man getting back his land. His land, you know, because himself theme land. This is the black continent, you know. And the blacks in Africa now are being sold again. So, isn't this a sign of a reverse? Isn't this a very blatant sign of black people needing to quickly put on the brakes to stop this reversal? Because it can't get no better now, you know. It's going to get worse unless I and I as individuals pause. Right? Libya today, black people in slavery. Black men and women being raped. Thousands of innocent black folks. And we are here pretending that we are a free people. And we don't hear a word from Farrakhan. Because the Arabs now are Muslims. And them talking about Allah. So Allah is at the head of the enslavement of black people again. Allah at the head of the Arab philosophy. And Jehovah at the head of the European philosophy. And both of them are enslavers of black people. So it's all about in Jesus' name and in Allah. And when you look at the foundation, what's happening to the black people, it's pure distress. So message to the item, double standard, triple standard, racism, violence. Time to wake up. So I forgot because the time they put me. But here I want to show the item now. Social network, powerful medium. And we have a story of a Lord God. And here it goes. Him say, I created man and woman with original sin. And then I destroyed most of them for sinning. And then I impregnated a woman with myself as her child so that I could be born. Later on, I would kill myself as a sacrifice to myself to save all of you from the sin that I gave you in the first place. Wake up. Metamorphosis. Dr. Iman Blak, giving thanks for another situation. And healing those who have been listening. And remember that you can catch me on Saturday Night Live at 9 p.m. on Facebook Live at Dr. Iman Blak. Heal all those who have been listening. Heal those who followed and came onto the program on Saturday. And hope we can see you again next Saturday. And of course, Metamorphosis rolls through on Styles FM Monday nights, 9 to midnight. People, be strong as we go down into the strong. We don't celebrate the week. We try to improve the week. So when we get to the strong end, we celebrate the journey through the plantation. Peace unto the item. Iman Blak. Out.
Babylon ain't easy. Said living in a Babylon ain't easy, no way. Temptation on my right and evil on my left. I'll stand up and fight. Oh yeah now, Sadamasagana. To have some mercy, to keep me safe and guide me to travel on my way. Temptation is so strong, but I must fight it. I'll stand up and fight for my oh yeah now, Sadamasagana.
The universe is eternal, and the I is the center. Rastafari.
It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I, whispering inside of me. Guide I feel peace and harmony. It is in silence that we will always hear. Sit quiet and meditate, let the good vibes infiltrate. Even when it's dark, don't you ever have no fear, yeah. Cast away your troubles, I say, just for a moment or a day, yeah. Guiding I eternally. Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free. Guide I. Whispering inside of me. Guide I feel peace and harmony. Our inner voice, hey, it guides us along